well.
I would actually like him on the county council.
We welcome you to the meeting of the Logan-Cache Airport Authority Board for the month of December. We'll begin by asking for an approval of the minutes from the November meeting as they have been provided.
I'll move approval.
It's been moved that we accept the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. We approve the minutes as provided for the November 6th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or changes? Manager's report, Bob?
Good morning, everybody. So, last time we were here, I talked about the grant from the UDOT Aeronautics Department that we had applied for. There's a total of $2 million up for that grant for the electrification. I did check with them yesterday just to see if there was anything to report to you. The report is that they're still reviewing it and have not made a decision yet, but they're moving on to the second step in their process shortly. So that's the report on that. Our snow blower, I've talked about our snow blower all summer and the plan to get it fixed, and that plan has fallen through. We do have another plan though. We've taken it to another shop who says, oh, you take the gear and where the tooth was, you just weld it up and then machine in a new tooth. That seems a lot simpler than what we were trying to do. I wish we'd known that earlier, but that's where we're at with that piece of machinery, and that's here in the valley. In the meantime, we've looked at a replacement. We've found a suitable replacement, but we're waiting to see how long this first piece of equipment takes to get fixed. And if we have remaining funds, we still may look at the second piece as a backup or run two at the same time. That's to be determined. But we've spent some time this last month focused on fences. We've identified several parts of our fence, specifically some gates where they were sagging and the gates were overlapping. This is out on the field, not at the entrances, but the gates were sagging, overlapping, leaving gaps between the wood posts and the metal posts for wildlife to enter. And we spent some time fixing that up, shoring that up, drilling holes, putting bolts in, getting it back to where it's supposed to be. We also identified some spots in some culverts where the fence just goes over the culvert, leaving a gap underneath between the fence and the water for wildlife to enter, and that's to be addressed also. So, on some positive note, Valerie, our one of our part-time employees, got engaged. So to her 4-year boyfriend. So that's positive. Wanted to share that happy message with you. But that's the manager's report for the month, unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
Nope, I'm impressed that you're working on the fences, though.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
You got it.
Connor?
Morning, Connor Butterfield with Lochner Engineers. So Taxi and Kilo, it's under final review with the FAA. We should have hopefully acceptance of the project back this month, and then we'll be able to go out to bid for that. Taxi Lane Charlie, we have a contractor, Staker Parsons, so that'll go out to construction in the spring for the reconstruction of Charlie. And then SRE equipment, still on track for this month to be delivered, but they're gonna, I believe they reached out to the airport. The side plow is taking a bit longer than expected, but they were hoping to deliver the plow truck with a front plow attached, and then the side plow will come later. And then additional projects, we have the pavement maintenance of Taxiway Bravo that'll happen this summer as well.
And repaint will be obviously part of that.
Yeah, so pavement maintenance and repainting, yes.
And that will complete our obligation on the 139 update, right?
Yep.
With
so
the new design, new font,
Exactly. New spacing, everything will be up to the new AC. So all your paint should be taken care of, and I believe that checks all the boxes for your FAA inspection.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or?
It'll be a busy year.
Yeah, lots of construction, so
Yeah.
that'll be great.
Thank you, Connor. Bob, you've been asked to give us a recommendation for handling the waiting list.
Yeah, so in reference to the waiting list, we, once we started looking at the waiting list, we recognized there's a few situations there that needed to be addressed. And so we've gone through, and these are recommendations for you to discuss or agree or disagree or tweak. But this is what I've come up with. And let me just read through it. I've passed out some papers. If you don't have one, maybe share with your neighbor. But I know I didn't print enough, but so to establish a waiting list for the hangar construction site we're going to rigorously honor what's already on the waiting list. When it comes to, okay, it's your turn to build a hangar, we're going to refer to the waiting list. Okay, if it comes to your turn, when an individual's name reaches the top of the waiting list and they are officially offered a specific available open site, they will have a defined period to accept or decline the offer. Should the individual decline to offer, build, or to build for any reason, including but not limited to financial considerations, change of plans, or unsuitable site, their name will be immediately or permanently removed from the list. Now this one here, I debated on removing them from the list or just moving them to the bottom of the list. That can be discussed. But that's what I wrote down. Number 2, disposition. We do have someone on the list who's deceased, and so this is number 2 is to address that. In the unfortunate event of death of an individual currently registered on the waiting list, the $500 site deposit paid by that person will be fully returned to their legal estate upon presentation of necessary documentation. So we intend to take that $500 that he put down to get on the list and give it to his estate, return it. Number 3, deposit refund upon external purchase. This is, so someone's on the list, but they purchase an existing hangar before their name comes up on the list, then we would refund that as well. There's 2 people on the list that I think fall under that category. And then moving forward, future site allocation policy, what we're going to do moving forward. Effective immediately, and the official waiting list is closed. No additional names shall be added to this existing list going forward. A new application-based system will be instituted for all hangar site allocations. So currently, to get on the list, you fill out a hangar site request application and submit a $500 check. Moving forward, we would just receive the site request application, but that doesn't guarantee you a spot in line. The airport would when a site becomes available, we would look through that list and see who has asked for that size of hangar spot. So if you're looking for 100 by 100 and you're number 1 on the list, we wouldn't go to you if we only have a 50 by 50 spot. We'd go to the people that want a 50 by 50.
So, may I?
Yes.
So do you anticipate essentially keeping a file of the applications?
Yes.
So that essentially is becoming your waiting list with more specific information?
Yes. Yeah. We would keep those applications, and we'd probably keep them in order, but an official list wouldn't be referred to, and there would be no deposit.
So if you have a 50 by 50 site available and you have 3 people that have applied, how do you make that decision?
We would keep them each one of them has a date on it, and we would just go to the first person and say, are you ready?
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So there is a priority order based on when they apply, but there isn't a waiting list.
There wouldn't be an official waiting list. There would just be, this is to kind of streamline the process, so there's not this waiting list out there that hamstrings us, so to speak. So we want to be able to move a little quicker and just go to the person that qualifies for that spot. Meaning, this is what I've written down and documented that I want. And so when that spot comes up, we'll come to, say you're the first one that wants a 60 by 60. And we have a spot that fits those dimensions. I would come to you and say, are you ready? You want to build? And so we'd offer that way without an official list. This is a recommendation. This is for you to discuss. So basically, that's the recommendation.
Can we discuss now?
Yes.
Is there an application fee
No.
and the deposit still exists, or that goes away as well?
We're doing away with the list and the deposit. And
Everyone on the list should then complete one of the new hangar site request applications.
everyone on the list has already completed one of those.
Okay, so you don't need to change that, so you essentially have that information.
Yeah, but for new people going forward, we're not gonna maintain a list. We're just gonna collect these site application forms.
Why not
As long
take a
as you're
deposit?
going in order and you're not jumping over and say, oh, so-and-so, he's been bothering me a lot lately, so I'll give it to him. Again, that was
Yeah.
what we were trying to avoid with the airport waiting list, was any kind of favoritism. So as
Right.
long as you're going by the dates, I mean, it makes sense to match them to the
Yeah.
size and,
Yeah,
But I also think they still need to put in a deposit.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is because
Okay.
there's probably a cost to administering the applications, reviewing them, keeping track of them.
okay.
And so I think that you could recoup some of the costs that way. The other thing is, we should probably, if it is FIFO, first in, first out priority, we should probably define that in the terms.
Okay,
So that'll
What number
make
was
it
that?
more objective, as Mayor Dane
yeah,
suggested.
first in, first out.
based on the site size, which completely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably define who is performing that review,
Yeah,
just for clarity.
I agree.
So maybe we should put these things down as requests for amendments, treat this as a motion, and then start amending this allocation with these requirements. I think, to just get that on board, I think if I put a motion on to approve this proposal, subject to amendments, then we can discuss this and begin to put in additional criteria in subsection 3, Chair. Would that be acceptable? With that understanding, I am favorably inclined to accept any amendments that are approved with respect to my motion, but I would formally move the adoption of the airport waiting list proposal.
Okay.
Needs a second.
Is there a second?
I'd second that, as long as, as I look at the agenda, it's noticed as a discussion item and not an action item.
Correct.
So as long as we feel that that's appropriate, I'm happy to second. But I just want to make sure it's noted that it does indicate as an agenda item that it's just a discussion and not an action item.
And that suggests that we address it in January, the next meeting,
Right.
for final action.
Yeah, I would suggest that we make any suggestions that we have to the proposed document and then bring it back as an action item in January.
I agree with that approach.
May I ask a question? Can you guys weigh in on number 1 here?
I would like to weigh in on
Yeah.
number 1. Because we are moving from an old system, a legacy, to a current new system,
Yeah,
I would support the removal and return of the deposit so that we can implement quicker into the new system. So I would like to have it remain the removal, so that it does move from an old legacy application system waiting list to your new method.
Okay.
But
I would move that would be the, I mean, that's the way I would recommend.
So you would want to not have any deposits anymore?
Now,
Well-
I have a
Because I agree
different,
with
I have a different discussion on that one. You asked discussion on number one. If we're having a legacy system, I think we, as quickly as we can, we take out the legacy system and move to our new system.
Specifically, maybe I should ask this. Specifically, do we want to remove them from the list, or do we want to put them at the bottom of the list? They decline, we just move them to the bottom of the list,
I
or,
think we remove them from the legacy system of tracking, which would be the waiting list, to the new system and add them in to their fit.
Wherever their
I assume
date.
that with the new method, you're going to say, hey, you're top on the list for a 50 by 50. Do you have the financial means right now to do it? Because we need you to act now. And I'm like, you know what, I don't right now, I still want to be there, but I want to be in that folder so that when you have another 50 by 50 come up, but I'm not first in line for the 100 by 100 and I build a 50 by 50 on it. I think we want to avoid that. And with a waiting list, when it's all sequential and I'm the top on the waiting list, well, you have any spot available and I should be able to build on that spot as long as I'm the first in priority.
yeah,
I'm seeing that this proposal is adding flexibility to you to say, hey, I want to fit the right person to the right spot. And if there are 10 right people, then I'll pick the first one that came in.
that's right.
But if there are, if my 50 by 50, I have a small plane, if I want a spot and the only one that's available is a large plane spot, well, then I'll build my small spot. And I worry that I'll never be able to have first priority again, so build me my 50 by 50 on a 100 by 100 spot
Yeah.
is not what the airport wants.
Correct.
Am I understanding that correctly?
You're dead on.
That's why I say, all right, take them off the waiting list, put them in your folder for that size, and then they can move forward. But then, if we're going from a 500 deposit to a something different, and now that's where I'd like to talk on the next one is, I would like it an application fee rather than a deposit.
Okay.
I'd like to say, let's have a $50 or $100 application fee, a non-refundable. It gets you on the list, it gets you in order, it gets you in the folder. But we're not holding these $500 deposits. They're fully refundable till the day I die, and apparently after I die.
Yeah,
So, I mean, at that point, it hasn't recovered the cost of doing it, but an application fee would. So to that point, I would recommend that we add an application fee.
Okay.
And it'd be $50, $100, whatever.
give me an
administrative
amount.
fee.
Give me an amount and we'll put it on there.
$500.
At 500, then it's non-refundable. I'm talking a non-refundable application fee. You get on the list, you pay that. I think 500 is maybe a little bit more than it costs you, but I would say $100. It's enough to restrict people from everybody applying just in case. I have to be at least a little serious, but I know my $100 goes into, you can have 500 if that's your proposal. I'm just asking.
I agree with
what I-
100.
It should cover the cost of your administration.
But it's non-refundable. It's my application fee and not a refundable deposit. So-
Okay.
So I think if 500 was understood as a refundable deposit, I'm backing down to that in order so it's recovering the cost of administering this program.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor. I'm not inclined to vote for it, but we probably should do something about that.
There was not a second, so it died.
Oh, I thought,
Only if it was applicable, and I think the discussion was that maybe
Okay.
that wasn't, but I think the ruling of the chair should be had.
yeah, let's make that explicit.
So,
I don't think we need to vote on it because there was not even, his was a reserved second, conditions of which have not been met.
I mean, I think, I think George is amenable to kind of the friendly amendments we've made. So if we come up with a draft in January and vote
Yeah.
on it.
What would be nice is if we could phrase what we want to do to this so that we had it ready to adopt.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to leave this meeting having discussed 95% of what we want the next one to look like.
My question about the process, Bob, and I'm new to this, but might an individual say, well, I'd like to be on all the lists for all of the sizes? And essentially, are there identifiable sizes? There's 50 by 50, there's 100 by 100, 200 by 200.
There's all different sizes of hangers out there, and so, I as a paperwork side, as a keep track of things side, I was gonna put 2 folders. One with I was just gonna mark it large hangers, smaller hangers, and then just keep track of them in there.
That sounds manageable.
Yeah.
If we have different lists for 60 by 60 as opposed to 50 by 50, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
So can you define what large is?
I would say at least 100 feet.
Okay, it's 100 by 100, and a
Usually-
small would be anything less than 100.
Usually there's the 100 by 100s or larger, and then there's the 40 by 40, 40 by 50, 50 by 50, 40 by 60. So there's usually a pretty good delineation between, it's just the dimensions of the smaller ones usually are a little different than.
So when we talk about on the allocation, we would have 2 lists, one for larger hangers and one for smaller, with the dividing line being 100 by 100.
That's the intention, yes.
Okay,
Again, there's certain taxi lanes that can accommodate the larger hangars, and we don't want small hangars on that, so it's pretty well defined according to the taxiway, right?
So my question would be, can you, based on our master plan, can you tell us how many larger and smaller hangars might be planned if, I know we specifically stated that some taxi lanes were to be only larger hangars, and some taxi lanes could be a mix, and I would assume that if that we set them out like 50 by 50, or, with 50-foot frontage or something like that, the smaller hangars, and whether they go 40 feet back or 60 feet back is I guess, a choice.
It's like the different group, so you have a group 2
Uh-huh.
taxi lane, which is going to be taxi lane kilo. So that would facilitate larger hangars, which like 100 by 100 hangars.
Okay.
And then a group 1 taxiway would be your smaller 40 by 40, 60 by 60.
But each lot would be the same size, right? Or do we have smaller lots?
Wanna come to
It's
that.
sort of like a subdivision in a way. That's my question. Because it would seem to me that we would say, okay, taxi lane kilo has 100-foot frontage for 10 hangars or something like that.
Correct, and they're not, I would suppose the lots, it's not well defined what the actual lot is. We have a general layout for group 2 where you could build 100 by 100, but you could also build 160 by 100. So I think the delineation between large and small would be on your taxi lane specific, and then that kind of enables you to, we could put a 40 by 40 or a 50 by 50 or a 60 by 60, and we have those on your master plan, roughly what you could build in this area. So I see his plan working, having kind of the 2 delineations of, okay, so we built this group 2 taxi lane, we have roughly 10 spaces, depending if you go a bunch of 100 by 100s or you go a 160 by 100. It's a bit flexible in that regard.
So what happens, I may be in the weeds here, so I'm sorry. What happens if you've created a taxi lane, a level 2, so the 100 by 100 is what you have specified, and you have specified that we can fit 8 100-foot hangars on that taxi lane, on one side of it or both sides of it, whatever. And somebody builds 160, which essentially takes away one of your spaces. Because then you've only got another, you've got a 40 living out there somewhere.
Correct.
So what I don't know is, do we define it like you define a subdivision? And you say there's this many hundreds And if you want to build 160, you have to buy 200s.
Like defining the lot size for the parcel
Right.
house, is that what you're saying?
Right, because then we maximize the use of the space, because if somebody does 160, then you've got a 40-foot loaner out there that technically could be a small hangar, but it's not on a taxi lane where you want them. And so what I wonder is if we would be more efficient if we defined the quote-unquote lot size and we allocated them by lot size.
And I think that's kind of the intent of the master plan, is we've laid them out in what we feel is the space, the most efficient use of space, where they are those somewhat defined lots. But as Judd has always said, it's a plan, it's not a blueprint. So it can be tweaked a little bit, so you could review the applications. You know, if somebody wants to build a 50 by 50, but it's better to build a 60 by 60, I don't know if you could force them into that, or what
Well,
sort of.
The actual, add to that, the nice with the new method would be, let's say we have 4 on the list, and we have one that wants 160, and we have another one that wants maybe that 40, and if he can take and have some flexibility on being able to take, maybe he can take those and work out the best method to have.
yeah, but
the
if you,
best option.
but if you
relative.
have a level 2 taxi lane, which is to accommodate larger airplanes, you don't want to stick a small hangar in there.
Not necessarily. I mean, the small plane flies on the same runway as the big plane, and will drive on the same taxiways. We're maximizing rentable space. And it is true that we want to have the largest and most use of the large planes on the larger taxiway, because we'll build them, taxi lanes that will build that way. But to have a small space can still be, I mean, that smaller plane can still fit there and utilize, and we maximize the use. Now, I think, to your point, the master plan is a 30,000 foot view. We're not done with our responsibility. At some point, we need to get the 10,000 foot view and the 1,000 foot view and the layout of what's actually on the ground. And whether we're involved with that or our managers involved in the 1,000 foot view, we've certainly defined that 30,000 foot view with the master plan. We understand where we want them and what we want to have there. But then as we get down farther and farther and closer to the weeds.
So we changed the plan.
No, the plan is that is where the general, that size of hangar and planes can be. Because it has to be built to a certain level to handle certain size of planes.
Right.
Wing width wise. But if you're left with a 40 foot, and if we can have our manager say, hey, you know, I have 160, but I'm gonna match you up with somebody that will take the next 40 feet.
Let me add
they
a
can match those up.
complexity to it though, Ryan, and that is, and you missed our last meeting, but we're looking at a situation where the taxi lanes are no longer a free add-on. So if you want to build on a taxi lane with 100-foot frontages, your proportionate share of that is going to be to build a lane that accommodates larger airplanes. So when you talk about putting a 40 by 40 slot on the big taxi lane, we're gonna have the burden of a larger share
Runway.
of the common expense is gonna have to go to that 40 by 40. And frankly, I think it isn't easy to deal with land when you say I want a 40 by 40. You might get the frontage full, but the back end is gonna have a square that's then unused. The truth is we'd be best if we could stack them and size them going down the runway rather than having them defined and having spots to try and fill in because of the problem. But
Absolutely. I only bring
the
that.
person that wants a 40 by 40, when we've got a 100 by 100 lot, it isn't, they're gonna be paying 3 times as much share for the runway And we're also gonna have a vacant spot behind the 40 by 40 lot. So I think we're gonna have to be a little bit more judicious when we start paying for our taxi lanes.
And my point to that, I get that, but my point to that is if you have a manager that is working to maximize it on that level, then maybe somebody in that application does fit, and they can marry two together rather than have those kind of gaps just off a strict
I
waiting
can tell you,
list.
maximizing revenue here does not occur when you're talking about 40 cents a square foot. That is such a minor element of revenue that trying to accumulate more people at 40 cents a foot isn't gonna do much for our economic situation.
I understand, but 40 cents is always greater than zero.
Sometimes zero and waiting is better than 40 cents.
Understood.
Can I
would just-
It's
pipe
not
into?
40 cents, it's 40, what is it now? 43 cents.
So I would just encourage us to think about, you know, we did a master plan, and if that master plan specifies 100-foot hangars, then we should be we should rent the land or sell the land or, you know, put them in 100-foot increments.
Or have them on the end so that the next one fits next to it, not create gaps that are vacant.
Right, behind it or in front of
If we
it.
said this is 100-foot thing, and then someone comes along and says 160, that's fine.
But
The
they,
next
but,
one then is
but then they
100.
buy the 200.
Well, again,
You don't want the gap.
I don't want the gap, and that's why I'm saying accommodating people sequentially to use on a taxi lane is probably the way we're gonna have to do it.
But the
So,
end is gonna be off. If we have a taxi lane that holds 4,
At the very end, that's true, but if you put 20 sites and say they're all 100 feet, and then we start letting random ones go out, we will end up with a bunch of blanks. And that's what I'm saying, is sequentially probably a better way to do it.
Can I ask a question based on last meeting? We had 3 different development groups come to us, and they proposed how to make the puzzle pieces work within defined areas. It's just something about it, and it's a gut feel. I don't have anything that I can specifically put my finger on, but it feels like we're overly complicating this, and I wonder if we can defer to developers, much like if we were acting traditionally like a municipality. If somebody that comes along, although we own the land, we retain the land, but we tell them, we offer it out as a bid, and they bid on defined packages of parcel boundaries. But what I found interesting, and I don't remember which one it was, but one of them had a corner. I think it was the third one out of the 3. They had a corner, and to Ryan's point, to maximize space, that corner one had less frontage, but had that trapezoidal shape. And if we were to defer to them, that they take that responsibility on, and we become an authority like planning and zoning to just say, yes, we feel like you've met the spirit of what we want, and offload the responsibility to someone else who has the profit motive to figure out how to maximize space, and we simply just authorize it. That just is something that, I'm seeing some nodding in the back, but I didn't confer with any of you beforehand, but I just, oh, then my apologies.
Maybe to get back to the bones rather than the weeds, I did have a question of, we want to stop accepting applications if the waiting list grows to a certain point. I almost feel like it would be irresponsible to keep taking people's money if they're backed up 100 deep or something.
Yeah, so right here, right in the middle of the page here, effective immediately, we would close the waiting list. And so we're not adding to the waiting list, but we would accept applications for hangar feet, for the hangar sites.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is at a certain point, do we stop accepting applications, or if someone's willing to pay the 100, we just keep taking them?
We haven't defined how much it is.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard 50, 100,
500.
500. Do we have an auctioneer here that can?
I think we accept as long as people are willing, but we're also upfront with them and tell them, listen, here's where we are. Here's where we are with land. We're this far away, at least, from building something new. Do you still want to be on the list? Knowing that it's going to be a year or two or more, and being honest that way and transparent that way. Do you still want to catch your spot on the list and stay? Because they might want to. They might say, well, it's worth it to me to wait because everywhere else is full too.
Yeah, if you
Every
still,
airport needs more hangar space.
if you still want to eat at Texas Roadhouse on Saturday night, and
Yeah, you wait
an
in
hour and a
line.
half, then
Yeah.
you have the
I'm
right
right
to
there
say
with
that,
you.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Those rolls.
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
you said that you had already transferred all the people on the waiting list to the application process?
We have not. We still have,
I thought you said you-
we
That
still
was
have the
Ryan's
list, but
suggestion.
we're closing it. We're not accepting any more people on the official list.
Okay, and then you're transitioning to them? to the app-
Transitioning to just collecting the application, putting them in the file in order, and then as the list is extinguished or used or exhausted, whatever the word, then we would transition over to our new system.
So but those individuals that were on the list, if they transition to an application process, will they stay with the same aging that they,
Yeah.
They had
They still
before?
turned it in when they turned it in.
okay,
Yeah, their
Well,
date,
no, I
the date is on there when they submitted that hangar site application.
from the waiting list?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So that just becomes their application date, essentially, is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Could I make an effort to try and refine some of the things we're talking about and get them in the text?
Okay.
On number 1, could we add a sentence that said, the application will indicate whether it wishes to be on the list for a larger site, 100 by 100 plus, or a smaller site, less than 100 by 100, so that we'll have 2 lists. That would be in addition to number 1, Bob.
Okay.
What I propose is, do we all want that? And so we add that to the proposal.
I think
Yes,
that's
I think that's a
very
good addition.
appropriate.
So basically, where it says including the desired size, we would add to
Just clarify that a little
indicate
more specific.
larger or smaller hangars.
And I think that lends itself to the first in, first out that's specified by which waiting list you're on.
And with respect to fees, I would propose that we retain the $500 deposit so as to avoid people putting their name in without making some,
With real intent.
Yeah,
that,
because $100 is pretty easy to come by.
well, I just would like people who are realistic about it. So I would, and that's all I'm saying. There may be an application fee too, but I'm saying I'd like to see the $500 deposit remain effective.
Well, you
So
could,
it would be refundable.
Right.
so you could do the deposit and then have it be partially refundable as well to cover the application fee, if you wanted to do it that way.
Under what conditions would it be refundable?
My proposal isn't that. It's to make it a $500 deposit. If they pull their application, they can have the $500 back.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say I would still advocate for an application fee because you still have to manage it. Or I would say you have a $500 deposit, 400 of which is refundable.
Okay. People need to be serious about this, and $100 is just too cheap. I wouldn't have a problem if it were a modest amount to be returned, but I would like to make it a substantial amount so that we don't clog up our list with a whole lot of speculative requests for sites.
So I'm hearing you say that $500 would be your minimum refundable, and then we could add an application fee on
If they
top
want
of
to
that.
keep their name on the list, I'd like to have $500. If they take their name off the list, I'd give them back the $500, but then they're off the list.
And then
If
there
they want
should
to
be,
stay active on the list, we can keep their $500.
but I think we should also have an application fee that
That's fine.
helps.
But
So,
make that
it should
an
be separate.
additional requirement.
Yeah,
So my suggestion isn't directed toward the application fee. It's, that if you want to be on the list, you must give us a $500 deposit. That's not saying anything other than that.
Bob, how many do you have on the list?
18,
How many?
roughly 18.
18. And how many spots we got?
We're gonna have more than that.
Could I add one other suggestion on item 3? Just before the last sentence where it says size stated in the applicant's request, comma, based on order of application. So again,
Yeah.
you've said you'll
Are you at the
consider
top?
all the things like size, location, access, which is very appropriate.
Yeah,
But if everybody meets that criteria, then I do think you should have, so it's not a favoritism issue, it's based on order of application.
Yeah.
So I
Take
would
it.
suggest we add that to item 3.
what was the official wording you wanted added in there?
So after stated in the applicant's request, comma, based on order of application. I can hand you my sheet at the end of the meeting
Okay,
if others agree with that.
If we can come back to the deposit versus application fee, too many variables make it more difficult to administer. Let's not have both a refundable and a non-refundable and a percentage or whatever. Let's go one way or the other.
I
And
like just the deposit. I think that's
just
simpler, easier
just-
to manage. We are holding their funds, so we're earning some interest and costs can be covered, partially at least that way.
I would alter that a little bit and say, let's have a $500 application fee, period. It's not a deposit, it is an application fee. There's no indication that it is returnable. So we could say it's non-refundable, but we call it just an application fee to make it easier to administer. Because anytime we introduce the notion of somebody deciding, well, you deserve to get this back or you don't deserve to get it back, and Bob would be able to handle it, but his replacement may not be able to.
I agree with you, John.
I do too.
Yeah, I think, fine with that.
How are you with that,
Are
George?
there any other,
I don't have, so it's a non-refundable.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. If someone comes in and says, I want to remove my name from the list, fine, we're going to keep your $500.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If someone says, I'm not ready yet, I want to stay on the list, they don't have to pay another $500. They can move to the bottom of the list, John, and
Yep.
stay on the list.
Yep,
Okay.
that would be
I think
my,
the disclosure about where they are on the list becomes even more important at that point, though. Like, we have to be very honest, because
well, when
that would create a lot of frustration if you pay $500 thinking you're gonna get something in the next year, and then it takes 5.
well, that's the way it's been.
well, and
But it's been
there's a
refundable.
responsibility for some, needs to be taken on the part of the applicant. Before he writes out the check, he says, how many people have submitted their application ahead of me?
Yeah.
What are available? Okay, I'll make the decision to move ahead. They need to ask the question and make sure that they're comfortable proceeding. Are there any other, we have 2 verbalized amendments to the proposal. Are there any
I
others?
think we got 3, didn't we?
Yeah, she had the first in, first out kind of clause.
Right, and
Here on
and we
three.
have the larger,
We have
smaller.
the larger,
That's
small,
on
then we have,
We had
That's on
discussed
one.
the deposit, so there's 3 changes.
Okay.
I would propose one additional change, and that is in the allocation criteria. My concern is that the board have the ability to look at applications in terms of the goals of the airport. And that's a little fuzzy, but my concern there is that we have some ability to make determinations based upon the benefit to the airport of certain configurations. For
Well-
example, if someone comes in and offers a package of, I'll take 5 100 sites, that may be much more valuable to us than having a 100-foot site. So that would alter the allocation.
Yeah.
So I would reserve that decision-making to the board and not Bob, so that the allocation can be modified by the board based upon objective criteria.
Or you could say,
yeah.
with the approval of the Airport Authority Board, large-scale development on priority sites may supersede the allocation list.
As long as we define what's considered large.
Well, that would be the decision of the board during the discussion of the proposal.
But it isn't
Then you
always
just can leave it as
large.
vague as discretion
Well,
of
I
the
meant
board.
large-scale,
Yeah,
like that multiple hangars at one
right.
time.
But there might be other criteria other than large scale too.
Okay.
If, for example, we have someone who will provide some financial backing for the tower or something as a result of getting, I think we should reserve some process that the board can make changes in the allocation based upon its objectives.
Okay.
If I could make one clarification, and it relates to what George was referring to. When the master plan is laid out, the size of the hangars appears nowhere in the master plan. The size of the hangar, or of the taxi lanes, is in the master plan, and that's all that's defined, and that's all that the FAA is concerned about. It's up to us to, as efficiently as possible, and as part of the charge that we have from the FAA, to use the assets of the land abutting those taxi lanes as efficiently as possible. It is not covered in the master plan what size hangar will go on Kilo. When the engineers drew it out, they drew out the maximum size hangar that would fit in the available space between the fence and the asphalt. It's up to us to manage that land efficiently. Am I right?
Yes.
John Menchner said yes. He graduated from the FAA to the private world. So with that in mind, we always have the discretion, along with the responsibility, to determine which hangars go in which spaces. Now, we have 4 amendments. With these friendly amendments, George, are you willing to submit your motion again?
Now, I think the way we would do this is we would have text written up, and we're not going to pass it, but at least we would have moved forward, and then we'll have another open discussion before we pass it. John, your comments are what I'm concerned about, and I think we ought to have some general phrase in the allocation that references that, so that we're not tied down. Your statement that using our assets efficiently is one of the criteria of allocation and we just say it that way. So that would make it a fifth sentence in there, and I think just a general statement so that the board can say this allocation here is going to be not simply by who submitted in what order,
Yeah.
but for the larger purposes of the airport, that only the board would be in, and we would have to do that in an open meeting.
In the absence of a motion, Bob, would you take these suggestions and adopt them into your proposal
Sure.
and submit that to the board members as efficiently as possible so that they can further consider them in anticipation of it being addressed formally in our next meeting?
Of course. Can I,
Acceptable?
excuse me, can I address number 3 on the top there? Can we just do some housekeeping on our current list here? We do have a couple people that were on the list, pay their deposit, but have been able to buy hangars, and they're no longer waiting to build a hangar. What about refunding? I think there's 2.
Are they wanting to still build a hangar once
No,
they got into an old one?
they've purchased one.
You're asking if we can refund it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I also want to go back to what Ryan said about kind of getting people off the old system. Since the dollar amount is the same, can we just parlay those that want to retain their spot on the waiting list to an application?
Well, he said
And then
they
it puts them
really
in the new
filled out an
system?
application, so,
Okay.
yeah.
So then,
But specifically what I'm asking is, just for housekeeping going forward, how do I manage the current list of people that are on the list, they've paid, but they've since solved their own problem, purchased a hangar?
So how did we feel,
Give them their money
how
back.
was, well, it depends upon how we initially defined that $500.
yeah, if it was with the expectation that they would have it returned to them, then we should fulfill our obligation, of course. But
Irrespective of how we define it, I would move that we return the funds to those who have built,
Purchased.
purchased facilities, who paid the deposit to build them,
Yep.
and their name be removed from the list at
Okay.
the same time. I would make that motion.
yeah,
Is there a second?
Yeah,
Is that a second? It's been moved and seconded that we return the deposit of those who have purchased other hangars. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And what could we apply, could we have the same motion with regard to returning the deposit on a paid by deceased person?
I would so
Previously
move.
to there being,
Second, I'll second that one.
it's been moved and seconded, we approve that, we return the deposit to the estate of a person who is deceased. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Just
opposed?
to clarify, going forward, I thought the fee will be
Non-refundable.
non-refundable.
Yes.
correct?
For the
Yeah,
new-
it will be an
new process.
application fee. It will
Right,
not be a deposit.
non-refundable.
Yeah. We're gonna try to get deposit out of our vocabulary.
and I do want to say that since we are changing some aspects of the application process, i.e. large versus small, and having to define that, I think those that are on the waiting list now should need to reapply. They get to hold their spot. They can take their 500 and put it towards an application if they so desire, but they need to be in the new application
Yeah.
system. That way it moves everyone to the new systems. Are we,
I support that.
okay.
But I think that, didn't you say you were doing that, Bob?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what we're doing.
Just want to make that explicit.
Yeah.
then.
I have
No one
one-
loses their spot in line in the
Yeah,
transition.
but they now do have to define if it's large or small.
Correct.
They already have
Yeah.
to define.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's taken care of too.
Yeah.
On the application, they have put what size they want. We're just gonna put them in a different, we're just gonna go large, small.
And they will be notified their 500 won't be refundable as of when this is implemented.
Correct.
If they want to, that's the part that I just want to make sure is explicit, that everyone understands.
Okay.
I have one other piece I'd like to add on the criteria of number 3. I'd
3
like-
on the top or the bottom?
3 on the bottom. The size, location, access, verifiable aviation use. If I only have a a Cessna 150, but I really like the idea of 100 by 100. I may not be the priority you want me to be there. I think that some verifiable aviation use should be part of the criteria.
Well, to keep their lease, they have to verify that, and Bob has actually started checking that, is my understanding.
Yeah, but at that point, I think, and I agree to the point, the reason I bring it up is we want certain size of planes in those, and if that's the criteria, I want it to be verified that that's what's moving in versus just size of hangar, and I build a man cave in it as well. I still have aviation use in my lease, because I have a plane.
So are you,
I'm just trying to,
I get your point. So I want to build 100 by 100, but I have a 172 and I've got all this extra space. However, someone may say, I want that big, I'm going to have a larger plane in the future.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm going to lease out my remaining space to other airplane owners.
at that point, then that's aviation use, and I'm
Yeah.
just generalizing aviation use as a criteria.
Yep.
And using assets efficiently, I think, would be.
Yep. Okay.
Anyway, I'm just trying to add that as a criteria of condition of what we're doing.
Point taken.
So could I make one other point? Maybe we should have a different deposit between large hangars and small hangars.
I agree.
Would it be inappropriate or too much to say a large hangar we should have a deposit of $1,000 for a large hangar and $500 for a small hangar?
I think that's up to John. He wanted to keep it simple. You're throwing a wrench in that simplicity now.
Well, I don't think that's a bad idea.
And the numbers could move around. I just say the differential may make sense here.
What do you think?
Any other comments?
Don't you have opinion on that?
Subject to discussion next meeting.
Well, if you're okay, Chair, let's have Bob put it in, and we can discuss as we finalize that at next week.
500 and 1,000?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And Bob,
Yes, sir.
were we to do that, a person who's on your current list, who's on the list for a larger one, would upgrade to the new application process and give us another $500. That's how that would.
They could apply their existing towards the higher, yeah.
Okay. Any more for Bob's bucket?
It was a big.
Running out of room on the margins here, so I have to turn it over. See.
Okay,
Thanks for putting it together. And
Yeah, no
giving
problem.
us the starting point.
Yeah, it's a good starting point.
thank you.
Okay.
Taxi Lane Delta Development and inquiry. These two were the third entity that made the presentation previously, and they've formalized their proposal.
Yeah, that'd be great, sorry. Printer ran out of ink. All right,
That one for you, too.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, if what we are looking at there is in the bottom, Andy Checkets, by the way, Corey Getchy. Bottom left corner is, we've proposed the hangars and sizes according to, we've met with John, we've met with Bob. And correct me if I'm wrong, John, but we're trying to do zero lot line buildings in order to maximize the space, so we don't have wasted land. And so what this is this part so far is just a rendering of trying to maximize that. The hangar sizes vary from 45 feet wide to 50 to some 70s, some 60s in there. This is adjustable. I have talked, there's the list that everybody is talking about. I have talked to all but two of the people on that list. Majority of the people not building the large hangars that you're talking about I have talked to all but two, and if we can get something done and build it in an affordable price range for them, they would like to see us be able to move forward. At being able to do this, we would put in the taxiway and the infrastructure for that in order to move forward.
Yeah, and not to belabor the 45-minute conversation about the list that we just had, but from just my limited view, the challenge, and I think it was George who mentioned this, and John, challenge you have is when you want to maximize the space, it requires you build the big building, right? But you'll get 5, 6 hangars out of one building. So if we're going 0 lot lines and we're smashing them together, that becomes really difficult for a person to come in and say, hey, I want to build my own hangar. You see what I'm getting at? Somebody's got to build the whole building. So I guess I would defer to you guys in the sense of what you're hoping to accomplish. And then it kind of dictates, or it lends itself to somebody developing the entire building. And then I think, if I could be so bold, the conversation goes away when we start talking about the list and deposit, who's there, who's first. It becomes like an open market, who's willing to purchase, 1/4, 1/5, almost like a condominium style hangar project that we would be doing. So again, it depends on what you guys would foresee us doing. We're happy to build the infrastructure, put in the taxiways, and leave it at that. And then if you guys want individual people to come and build, then again, it's tough to say that you're going to build one building, then have somebody build 3 walls against it who wants to build that. They would have to build the whole building, I would imagine, to carry on that idea of maximizing those spaces. So again, if you want us to build it all, we're happy to build it all. It's just tough to know, and I don't know if there's ordinances or zoning, similar to like a city where you look things up, and then that, kind of drives the conversation. I'm not aware of that, but again, so we're happy to propose what we've proposed. We're happy to do all of it. We're happy to do just the infrastructure. This started out as 2 pilots just wanting a hangar, so.
It grew.
Let me ask you, have you approached these people to see how many of them would sign on to this project?
I have,
Yeah.
and so I've talked to all but 2 people on the list that would qualify under this. And, the theory of it is, if it all is a 0 lot line building, it needs to be built at the same time, one building. We would look at the list and say, hey, your number, we've got several guys out here, Gio's one of them with the hat there. We'd say, hey, what is it you want? And we'd adjust the building space. So maybe it leaves he takes a 60 by 60 and it leaves a 40 by 60 at the end.
What we want to do is respect the people's priorities.
Yep.
And we don't want to coerce them into using you only. But it would be a happy marriage if their priority and your building could come together. And it seems to me that we should throw it back on you. You could do a portion of this, not all of it, or you could do all of it. Why don't you go meet with those people and come back with a...
So I've already met with them. Here's the problem we're at. We're making a dance back and forth of semantics that make it really hard to move forward. I've talked to all the people. I've spent hours and hours and hours on the phone. I've talked to the city as far as how do we mitigate fire? How do we want to lay these out? How are we going to take care of the infrastructure for groundwater? So I have done all that, and I've chased that process. And then I've talked to all of them and saying, hey, as long as we can fit this budget, and we'd have to sit down with them, and we would get to a point of saying, this is what it's going to cost. But in order to get to that exact point, we've got to be able to get an approval to go forward.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I think the chicken or the egg has to come first here. I think we're gonna have to burden you to go back and get those people, see how many on the priority list will sign on at the price and the terms you've got there, and then come make a collective proposal to us.
Well, I'm sort of not agreeing with that, George.
Well, so we got a couple issues, right? If we don't have, like, we can't go much further than what you've got in front of you if we don't have approval to move forward. And if we can't really price out a project until we move forward, right? So it's, I don't know that it's a chicken and an egg situation. It's more of like a square peg and a round hole situation. Because what we have now currently is as far as we can go without knowing that you guys are gonna, you know, we don't wanna waste our time. We certainly don't wanna waste anybody else's time, but without knowing how far we can take this project, it prevents us from actually getting pricing from people. We've met with different, you know,
I asked just a couple of questions.
subcontractors, but that's as far as we've gone.
So your proposal to us is to build this project
Yeah, we're happy to.
in its entirety.
And today we are proposing we'll finish the taxiway and we will maximize the square footage. These hangars can change and vary based upon need and based upon what you guys would like to see us and to match the general plan. We are proposing to finish the taxiway on this area, and these are, right here, we've got 15 hangars.
So if you built all 15 hangars,
Yep,
you talked to the people who were on the list, and you had half of them say, yeah, I want to do that, I want to buy one of your hangars.
yeah,
You're on the hook with the rest of the hangars,
That's
trying
correct.
to find an owner for them, correct?
That's
You're going to
correct.
condominiumize them all.
Correct.
right. So that,
And-
the list goes away and it becomes a who's willing to pay for
X,
a hangar.
yeah.
And if they don't want on this list, then
Yeah, they
they
can
can hold
move
their
to a
spot on
different
the other
area.
list.
Yeah,
But
they- I
then,
mean, they-
but just as we
Yes.
had just motioned before,
Yeah.
those that want to buy into this,
Yeah,
now get their $500 back and
Correct.
buy on yours and sign the lease, but at that point.
Right,
And
it's
so it opens up a possibility.
yeah, and you can see we've got different sizes that could match anybody's need.
Both asphalt and building.
Yeah, we would build it all out.
And they're saying to mitigate their risk, they can do 20/80, 60/40, because it's all one building anyway.
It's one building, and so we can adapt, and we want to take priority to the list. I've talked to, like I say, I've spent hours talking to them.
So I have
We would
just another
like-
Yeah,
question
we're on the list.
We're on the list.
How
Yeah.
many, you talked to all but 2 of the 18, 19, whatever you said, so you have 17 on the list. Not necessarily you've signed them to a document, but how many of them do you fulfill, that you anticipate fulfilling off that list?
I would say,
Of the 19, how many?
The challenge,
have said that they?
so Ryan, the challenge is they go, okay, cool, how much is that gonna cost? And so we're like, we don't know, we don't have pricing yet, we're gonna try and keep it as cheap as possible, but until we get an approval, you know what I mean? So we're kinda stuck at this, if you want us to do it, we'll try and maximize it and do it as cheap as we can, and then we come up with pricing
But
to help
to-
those people out.
but to answer you, Ryan, on that list, I've got a hold of, so if you go down, Craig Adams, the first one, then you've got 4 guys, they're building the bigger ones. That is what got approved last time with Alex. So those 4 are off. So then we're down to 13 people. One of them's deceased.
Okay, well, they're not getting.
2 of them are us.
2 of them are us. So you go, we're now at 12, but really we're only at 10 because 2 of them are us.
Okay.
Of those 10, I've talked to all but 2. And as long as we can move forward and be in a price that's competitive for them, they are willing to have us do it.
How many said no?
I didn't have one person say no. I had everyone say yes.
My point kind of goes.
They just wanted to have the price verified, which we don't know until we get then. Because one problem with it, George, that we're running into is we've got to go through the FAA. This is, John, you're going to need to tell me, it's a different classification of taxiway in this area, and so we've got to build it to the specs. Am I
It's a lighter weight, right? 12.5 and under. So
different specs?
I think it ought to be explored to figure out if the airport would be willing to build it to
a certain weight category which would comply with FAA standards.
Yeah, so we can build the road,
Cost savings for the airport.
because here's the situation, you're limited to the wing widths.
Do you mind saying your name?
Yeah, and maybe, do you want to come to the microphone?
Yeah, come on up. So while he's doing that, we're limited to the width of your wing size, right? So as you turn these corners, you know, you've got 80 feet, you're not gonna get a big plane there, so you're never gonna have a really heavy plane on the taxiway, which to me, common sense says no need to build it to a spec that would support a heavy plane if a heavy plane's never gonna be through there. So that's just to lead up to what.
And back to my earlier statement about the master plan. Not only is it, you talked about the wingspan, but also the weight.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And Delta and Hotel were defined as Class 1 aircraft. Narrower, lighter.
Yeah. Yeah, so match Delta spec, basically, is what you're getting at. Yeah.
So what runway does this become? Just remind me.
It's extension of Delta.
Okay.
Taxi lane, and that
Okay.
links up with taxi lane hotel.
Okay.
At the bottom.
And
At
hotel
the
is,
bottom, you have Delta. At the very top, you have Alpha.
okay.
And then this would be hotel, that would be running north and south.
Delta.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we,
Delta's at the bottom,
Delta's
Alpha's
here.
at the top. Yeah, so we'd be connecting Alpha, Delta.
And they're all Class 1. They're all Class 1s.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, it would,
I want to say, I want to do something. I want to move that we approve this project.
yeah.
I second that.
And now we can discuss it again.
Okay,
We should have done this before the 45 minutes.
that's what I was over there saying the same thing, just let us talk, this would be great.
Question, just looking at the site plan that you provided, and that's Taxi Lane Hotel, I guess, going east-west.
Yeah,
You've got 350 by 50s. Seems like there's a lot of
There
dead
is,
space there. Could those be 70 by 70s
Well,
there to maximize the land?
to answer your question, so we've done a lot of due diligence on this, and that's the part of it. There is currently sewer and water lines behind there.
Okay.
So there wasn't great maximizing when a lot of this work was done previously.
Yes,
And
we're
so
working around some of
we're
those
working around it. We will add density and maximize space, but we need to be able to move forward so we can pay civil engineers, so we can pay,
yeah, a lot of that could change.
you know, so we can maximize that. We may have to move some sewer. We may have to move some water, but in order to be able to start investing in it, we need to know that we can go ahead.
the only concern I have, Jeannie, and generally is I don't want to run afoul of our priority list in doing this. And what I'm concerned about is if we approve this and first, second, and third on the small hangar list says, we're not in it, we want to build our own.
And that's fine.
Choice.
The problem is they can't, the way, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, if we're wanting zero lot line,
They're gonna have to build a whole
you,
building.
they're gonna have to build a whole building. So if the guy's only,
1, 2, and 3, because that, you actually have, the way this is designed, like spots of 3 here that are in a group, right?
but we're gonna, this isn't the end design.
So what-
We're gonna be maximizing this to every square inch of the dirt.
Yeah,
I understand that, but my concern is that we do honor the
Ab-
priority list. And I guess I don't have a problem giving you license to go ahead, but
We-
if 1, 2, and 3 come to us and say, we're gonna build it with 0 lot lines and we're gonna make it work, then we need to look at it.
And
This
that's,
comes back to the thing that we talked about on this whole thing, which is efficiency, but also
yeah.
recognizing the priorities of people.
Yeah.
but how is
Completely
this
agree with
different
that.
than what we already approved on the last two? Because we approved the bigger ones.
Yep,
And so we're doing the same thing
Yep.
as what they did. And so,
Well, and George, if you'd like, we can outline an area for that,
Yeah.
as long as we get reimbursed for the
Or
expense of the
represent
taxiway.
third parties, that's the difference.
Yeah,
The difference last week, if we weren't dealing with someone coming in for them, we were dealing with them. You're here saying, I represent the priorities, and I'm okay with that, but I need a signature from those people that are priorities, so that I know that we're honoring their priorities.
And we would absolutely offer to them first.
Okay,
Well, and the thing is, if they decline, these guys are still on the hook too. So the way I see it, they're willing to wade through bureaucracy. They're willing to build the taxi. They're willing to take the risk if people who have the priority say no. I think we should have a really good reason if we're gonna decline this.
I don't know that we can fairly say we represent them, you know, and I don't know that that's what we're telling you. I'm not saying that by any
Yeah.
means. We're saying we've spoken to them. We're giving them first right of refusal if they would like to do this, not. If you want us to allow some option, because I spoke to that 2 meetings ago too, where I said, hold on, we got guys that want to build their own. I'm extremely sympathetic to that. If you guys would like to outline a space where that's possible, that's wonderful. As long as we get reimbursed for the infrastructure, we're fine on that.
the best thing would be for you to go get them and have them authorize you as to do this and pursue.
Yeah.
But they need to know the cost.
They need to know the cost, and we can't give them the
How much it
cost.
costs yet.
So maybe the add to the motion is adding that you will give a first right of refusal to
Perfect.
that list, so that we respect it as a first right of refusal. They get the chance to be, they maintain that, and if this isn't theirs to maintain, they still maintain the
Absolutely.
priority list of the next.
And we could take it a step further and say we'll provide transparency on our numbers as well, and have everything up front.
All the leases come back for approval anyway, so we get approved based on that list, we get approved the leases anyway.
Yeah.
My question would be,
This is when it comes down to that.
Do we approve leases?
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes,
And a second.
And a
and
second.
a potential for an amended motion if that fails.
He seconded and amended it. Is that a friendly amendment?
I don't know what he amended it to. There was a
Okay.
lot of
Yep,
discussion,
no,
a lot of chat.
Nope, I'll be clear in my amendment, and then you can see whether it's favorable. That the amendment is that you give a first right of refusal in order to respect the waiting list.
absolutely.
I will agree to that.
It's been moved and seconded that we allow this group to continue with the development of Taxi Lane Delta and Hotel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hold on, I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying approve this?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
with
I
Ryan's
I
amendment.
want to object to that, because you're violating the priorities you just set up.
we just,
Ryan
Put in-
made an amended motion that they have right of first refusal.
Right of first refusal means they're given a choice as to buy something at this price or not.
correct.
That's not what they bargained for when they put an application in. They bargained for the opportunity to build their hangar. And
So-
now you're telling them, well, all you have is a right to buy from this party.
Well,
That's
they-
a different thing.
Let me clarify something,
Space to build.
just to be fair. I understand where you're going. When we all put in, I'm gonna remove myself from this plan. And anybody that's here on the list, tell me if I'm not stating this right. When we all put our money down, we understood it was a non-refundable $500. We also understood that there was no fee to build the hangar besides leasing the ground. Those were the two things, okay? Now, the board has decided that in order to be profitable moving forward, which I can respect, we want to charge a linear foot fee for anybody building from now forward. Is that correct? Okay, so now the guy, George, me included, if I want to build a new hangar and I'm going to build a 70 by 70, I'm going to have to stroke a check for 70 grand roughly to build on Echo
Before sticking a shovel in
before
the
sticking a
dirt.
shovel in the ground. So when you talk of a moving target, we've been subject to a huge moving target, many of these guys, for 4 or 5 years. We're trying to just collapse that down and say, we feel that we can do it for a lot less than that, more efficiently, and we can get some hangars built for guys that are waiting, including ourselves. If you would like them to have the first right to build their own building, I respect this, and that's what you're objecting for. However, you guys changed the rules to make it 0 lot line. You cannot build an individual 70 by 70 0 lot line unless you build them all together like this and condo it out. So I would propose, I appreciate what you're saying. I would love to come in and have a 70 by 70 of my own, not build in a condo style. But it does not maximize the space. We are simply trying to mold to what you guys have desired. Because you desired 0 lot line. Is that correct, John?
That's correct.
So we are simply trying to mold with your new parameter, which is completely different than we signed up for.
If I were you, I'd stop talking, because we already went on 45 minutes, which you called out. We already made a motion and you got a majority vote, so I'd quit while you're ahead.
That sounds good.
Well,
Whatever.
I
We
didn't
just
hear
want, we don't want there to be
anybody
hard
else say a
feelings.
word.
We don't want there to be hard feelings, and
Yeah, we don't want it at all.
I share George's thoughts.
What actually is supposed to happen is you make a motion, you make a second, you have a discussion, someone moves the question, and then you vote on whether to have the vote. And we didn't go through that process.
Well, we don't ever do that at city council, so I didn't know.
Well, and we're not trying to shortchange anything. We want to be on the same page.
We also had a significant amount of discussion prior to,
That's correct.
and so what would Mr. Roberts tell us to do since we have a passed motion?
I don't think you have properly done the motion. I think you have to close the discussion and move the motion to a vote. And
Okay.
that requires people to say they
Is there
have had an
further discussion
opportunity
to the
to
motion?
speak. So point of order.
Okay,
My point of order is that the vote should not have been taken without a motion to have
A motion?
vote.
is there further discussion?
Yes, I am in favor of what you're proposing, but I am concerned that the individuals that are on the list are not being given the priority with which they requested. I am in favor of what you're doing, but I think we need to respect their priority. We need to give them more than a first right of refusal to join your building operation. That's my concern.
So my question, and I agree with you 100%. So my question of that would be, if that's how you would like to do it, do you want to separate it to go back and not be 0 lot line buildings?
No, I'm not suggesting that we change the 0 lot line. I'm suggesting that those individuals take a look at our current requirements and make a decision whether they want to proceed with.
So there are lots available for them.
There's 3 of them currently
Echo
there.
currently has 3 available. So they will have the first opportunity to be able to say yes or no.
Is
This isn't
three
the only
enough
real
to
estate.
recognize the priorities?
What's that?
Is 3 enough to recognize the priorities that will have priority?
That I don't know. I'm not sure why they haven't built already, but to my knowledge, they weren't available. So it's kind of hard because we're stuck in this quandary of, we're trying to accomplish many different things and bake it all into to one, and we're just trying to build a hangar. So.
Point of order, I believe we're discussing the motion rather than discussing additional opportunity of other ones. I think we have a motion on the table. We have discussion of that motion that's been made. And at some point, we gotta get to the vote of that motion, whether it passes or fails.
There are, he mentioned there's hangar spots available now.
Okay, we have-
4, excuse me, John. There's 4 hangar spots available now that will accommodate 4 50 by 50 hangars that's available now, so.
Okay, we have a call of the question. There's been a motion, discussion, and a question. All in favor of proceeding with in authorizing this group to continue with the extension of Delta and hotel, say aye.
And
Aye.
does this include
All
the
in
first right of
favor?
refusal?
Have said aye?
Yeah, this is with Ryan's amendment.
Okay,
Yes.
Same motion.
thank you.
Any opposed?
Say aye? I didn't hear.
I said nay.
George said nay. It passes. Now, one point of clarification. I disagree, or at least I question your statement that saying people building the individual hangars cannot build zero lot line. I believe that they can.
Okay.
So you just
agree.
add it, just
Give
add it to
give
the
them the
building?
standard. If you were building the last one in a line, you got to put in a firewall. If you're adjoining that firewall, you have to also put in a firewall. And you have to put a firewall on your unattached
Correct.
side
Well, you
as
also
well.
gotta put a
So
footing
it
in.
can be done.
Yeah. And I,
It can be done, but you gotta pre-plan it that way, because you got a footing as well.
Well, that
And you also have fire, and you got a city that
that
dictates the
becomes
way
part
it's
of
built.
the application process. When you come in for a standalone hangar approval, these are going to be the conditions. You have to plan for zero lot line.
Okay,
And you
we'd
do-
love to include you on that discussion when it comes to the city, because they've got standards too, so maybe we can get on the same page with that.
Yep.
That'd be great.
But we would be the gatekeeper on approving the application to ensure that they are aware of what would be required of them in terms of
Okay.
the requirement for zero lot line.
Okay, sounds great.
It can be done.
Okay,
And
appreciate that.
Andy, you bring up a really good point. I'll say that everybody on the list fully expected that the FAA would fund all of the taxi lanes. That's all gone away, so we're all in the brave new world.
and all I'm saying is we're willing to step out and try to make it work because nobody else is there to fund them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well,
And-
and that's what's needed, because the FAA has said you have to fund taxi lanes locally.
And
Oh,
that's fair. And that's fair, absolutely.
And if they can't make it work financially, I assume then they just say it's not working and then
And they're off the list.
we can have another proposal.
Yep,
Yeah. Go and do.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
thank you.
Any other items?
I do have one quick item. Tuesday night, Logan City workshopped a resolution to approve Logan's withdrawal from the Airport Authority. Now, just a little background on that. As you know, the consultant recommended for a point of governance going forward, that it made sense to have one entity take that over. Again, there's always been the double taxation issue, so Logan's had great conversations with the county executive, and they think it's a good idea as well. So, again, it was workshop Tuesday night. Then on the 16th, there will be a vote by the city council members as to whether that moves forward, that Logan officially withdraws as one of the entities. The county would potentially waive the 6-month requirement. I mean, the original agreement is written so that either entity could withdraw. So we expect, I mean, again, the county or the city council has to vote on that, but we will know the resolution on that by December 16th.
And I should add that the county has received the request from the city, and the county will respond when it receives the request, but our tentative decision is that we will accept the request to withdraw and waive the 6-month time period.
We see this as mutually beneficial going forward to sort of, again, clarify the governance.
Yeah, I just-
That is not to say that the approval of buildings will still go through our planning process, because the building, it's within Logan
Right.
City. So that process will stay the same.
Similar to the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can we, but
we
in
probably
Logan
ought to add, Holly, that the county has asked the city to continue to participate on the board, and that we will formally have Logan City representatives on the board going forward, and we welcome and desire Logan City's input and help with this airport.
As far as the board, so, again, just simplifying things. So if you have any comments on that, you're welcome to email the Logan City Council members before December 16th. Again, there was some discussion as to whether or not there would be a public hearing. Right now, it's not scheduled to be a public hearing. So if you have comments, please contact the Logan City Council.
And if you think there needs to be a public hearing, let me know.
It's like Alex maybe wants to say something.
Only be 30 minutes.
Thank you.
It'll only be 30 minutes?
Cut his mic.
So, Alex Berenson, Black River Development. So we're doing the Lima, those 4 hangars initially, and proposing that, and it's been surveyed. Geotech would start here pretty soon, but we just have a question on the airport master plan, and we've actually talked with Connor as well as Bob, and discussed this. There is a large parking lot in between the hangars, in between taxiway J and taxiway Lima. And there's probably like 50 parking spaces there, and then a bunch on the end of the runway, or the end of the taxiway, excuse me. And what we're proposing to do is just eliminate that parking, and because we don't feel it's needed, but the other thing is you got operating costs to continue to maintain all that asphalt too. So we would ask for approval just to shift that and eliminate the parking in between taxiway J and L. And then there's another parking lot on the end of the runway, and we would just ask to replace that with an additional hangar space.
Taxi parking lots are not approved by the FAA.
Okay.
Only the location of the taxi lane is.
Okay.
If you're shifting the taxi lane, then we have to go through the FAA. If you are building on what was represented in the drawing as a parking lot, and you want to put a building on it, go for it.
Well,
We would
I'd
shift.
like to hear from
Connor.
Lochner,
And I'm sorry,
how
because
that would affect the master.
I don't have a big, if we could pull it up, you could probably better understand it, but.
Yeah, I guess I would like to see exactly, I saw a rough drawing of how he would like to shift it. So I just need to know exactly dimensionally how he would propose to move the taxi lane.
Could we pull up just the ALP 2025? I think
Probably
what it
not
does is
quickly.
shifts about 30 feet is all.
Or you're shifting taxi lane,
It would shift the taxi lane.
then you're out of luck
ALP.
for this year, because we would have to redraw the design and get it approved by the FAA.
Okay, well, in that case, I would just say, I'd propose that we just don't build that parking lot out.
You're not required.
Okay.
And building the 6 hangar space that would be fine. That's where the parking lot is shown on that end here.
So you've got 5 on the lower row and then 6 on the upper, and basically you would add a 6th on the lower row, and we still think, when we're going through design, we can still add parking stalls on the very edge.
The buildings represented in the master plan are conceptual.
Okay.
The only thing that is in violate is the location of the taxi lane.
Cool. So we won't shift, we just won't do that parking lot. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Anything I said that was not accurate, Connor? Was there anything I said that was not accurate?
No, everything you said was correct.
Okay. Anything else? We're adjourned until the January meeting, which is currently scheduled for the 8th of January. We've got things going on the 1st that would make it difficult for us to meet on that first Thursday.